Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the Ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Dwight D. Eisenhower, former president of this great United States, said this: "There is nothing wrong with America that the faith, love of freedom, intelligence, and energy of her citizens cannot cure." I hope so. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot to call in with our Pledge of Allegiance. Come on, give me a call. Good morning. Oh, good morning. I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, and, of course, our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you in a great big spring tire sale going on right now. And, of course, our great advertisers like Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. Now, without any other interruptions, let's go to the Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning.
Good morning.
Well, how are you?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, with liberty and justice for all.
I've been kind of worried that you've been sleeping in. We haven't heard from you for a long time.
Well, I was going to call yesterday, but I was in the middle of putting dogs outside.
Okay, well, Lorna, it's good to hear from you. God bless you and have a wonderful day, okay?
Well, thank you. You too.
Thank you so much. I love that lady. She is a nice lady. Hey, it's time for our weather, and the weather is brought to you by Ramsey Heating and Electric, offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. Whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump, you and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call Ramsey Heating and Electric at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey and Lennox can save you money. Here's the weather.
Well, it looks like we're going to be in nice with Mother Nature, at least for the next couple of days. But as we get closer to the weekend, a possibility of rain showers does increase. Here is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch. Partly to mostly sunny skies for today. A little bit on the breezy side, definitely not as bad as it was yesterday. High at 52, overnight low of 31. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies, high of 65 with an overnight low of 41. Looks like we are going to have a storm front trying to roll in on Thursday. More clouds are going to be coming into our area. High of 67 with an overnight low of 45. 90% chance of rain showers on Friday. High of 65, overnight low of 40. And a 40% chance of rain showers on Saturday with a high of 51. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Holy cow, 90%, Gina said, on Friday of rain showers. Well, you still have 10% slippage there. Oh, and our weather brought to you by Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox. Hey, don't forget the sale that works for you. I'm talking about the Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Oh, my, Merv, May, Cade, Rocky, Lance, Udy. And sale time about, I think they're going to start this week at 10 a.m. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll correct that if I am. They're located at 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Burley Livestock Sale Yard. The number to call for cattle consignments and sale information, 678-9411. You be sure and be there on Thursday. Oh, my goodness. Oh, and don't forget, too, our friends at Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. I tried to sit down yesterday and make a little notation as to how many years various sponsors have been on the air. I think that Daryl's has been with us over 15 and a half years. My goodness, and they have given us the best of service on our clothes. When I was rodeoing full-time, I wanted everything to look just right, because traveling and you want everything pressed and looking good, they do the job. So stop in today and see them at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, the best. And that's Kevin and Cindy, the whole crew. Take your rumply crumplies in there, and they'll come back looking brand spanking new. Oh, my goodness sakes, we got a lot of things going on this morning. We are expecting a call at 9:45 this morning from Senator Mike Crapo. I know. It's been a long time since we've had a commitment that they would come on the program, and I know he's in the middle of the hearings for Neil Gorsuch, etc. I, as a matter of fact, listened to Senator Crapo yesterday in the hearings, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on this morning. And Frosty Woldridge is going to be here, and in just a couple of minutes, we're going to have Fred Snook from Salmon, and he's going to give us a little update on that big horse sale that's coming up this week. So don't go away. I'll be right back with Fred Snook. Hey, Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. The number to call, 678-0459. They're open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, and they have all your heating, all your cooling, all your electrical needs right there. And they have been doing this for over a half a century. They know what they're doing at Ramsey Heating and Electric. And just give them a call or stop in. Open 7:30 to 5 Monday through Friday, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Ramsey Heating and Electric. Before we go to the phone line, I have some pictures. Oh, man, are they good-looking burgers. Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland in Burley, 611 North Overland, and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. And they have burgers that are just absolutely knock your boots off, good-looking, delicious, like the new bacon Gouda burger. Ooh, it's Gouda. And the Slam Burger and the Honey Jalapeno Bacon Sriracha Burger. Oh, that's just to name a couple of them. And they say pictures are worth 1,000 words. Well, I'll tell you what, I want 1,000 bites on these hamburgers. They look really good at Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner at 611 North Overland in Burley and 291 Pole Line Road in Twin Falls. The home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch, and that's Denny's Restaurant, America's Diner. You stop in and see those good folks today. We're going to go to the phone line right now, and I've got about 3-4 minutes here I need to spend. What's the matter, Wheels?
I was just going to say that I'm not able to get him on the phone at the moment, but I'm still trying.
All right, well, you just let me know, would you, old buddy?
I can do that.
All right, thank you. Sometimes our guests are hard to catch, but calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. If only, if, that word is really true regarding last night's NCAA championship between Gonzaga and North Carolina. If the big boys for Gonzaga, I said it wrong yesterday and Gina corrected me, would not have had foul trouble, if the big man for Gonzaga, Karnowski, would have had any game close to what is up to his standards. He had a terrible game last night. I think at one point he had missed 8 shots in a row. And he was really bad and off the mark, and still, with all those ifs and wannabes and what-ifs, Gonzaga, I get it again. They came so close in beating huge North Carolina, and it was really too bad. Gonzaga played a really good game, except they came out in the second half, and they just looked like a high school team matched up against North Carolina. I mean, there's some of the stupid mistakes, absolutely frivolous mistakes that gave up 7 points right in a row in the first minute to North Carolina, and Gonzaga ended up losing that game last night 71-65. But I was really proud that little school of less than 8,000 28,000 students. I think the enrollment's like 7,842 or something like that. They came within a heartbeat of taking their first national championship. You know, while I'm waiting for Fred Snook, maybe Wheels could go get Gina. How about that? She said she'd come on the air and talk to me about it this morning. Wheels, could you check that out for me real quick?
I can do that.
All right, thanks, buddy. Hey, Barry Equipment and Rental, sales, service, and parts, Jerome, Burley, and Twin Falls. My. They have all the equipment to get the job done right. Now, look outside, look at your lawn, and go, holy moly, is that lawn growing? Well, you can mow like the pros do with a Walker mower. 0% interest for 48 months. Ooh, they got them right there at Barry Equipment and Rental. And all kinds of Bobcat excavators, too. And they've got new and used excavators for sale or rent, all shapes and sizes. You better get in there today. 3 locations, South Lincoln and Jerome, Addison Avenue West in Twin Falls, and Juan and the boys at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Barry Equipment and Rental. You stop in and see those good folks today. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. I'd like to hear. What were your thoughts about the NCAA game last night? They had North Carolina on the ropes in the first half. Gonzaga absolutely outplayed North Carolina. The defense was outstanding. It was one of, I thought, going to be the greatest upsets in college history for a long, long time. Didn't work out that way, however, and North Carolina winning. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue. I'll be right there in a second, caller. Stand by. 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. Hello, Nick Greenwell and all the staff. You know, he has got a staff of people over there that really know and understand all the exercises, everything, and they can help you at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation. They can help you get back to being you. All you need to do is call and make an appointment, 678-1191, and with everybody overdoing things in the spring with the sore back and the sore muscles, oh yeah. And they've got the only hydrotherapy pool in the area. Yeah, they can help. They will. Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 678-1191. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
You know, you're talking about Gonzaga. You know, they have one of the best NBA players in the whole world, as far as I'm concerned, that came from Gonzaga.
That's right.
John Stockton.
That's exactly right.
What a player he was. And, you know, he didn't get the notoriety that Karl Malone and the rest of them got because he was a team player, and he cared about that team, and he had heart. I just admire him to no end, and that's why I was cheering for Gonzaga, because that's his alma mater.
Yeah, well, I agree with you, Keith, and I had the opportunity many times to watch John Stockton play in person with the Jazz, and literally watched him make Karl Malone a better ball player, as he did with the rest of his team. And I totally agree with you in your comments about John Stockton being an alumni of Gonzaga University and the ability that he had as a basketball player. No doubt in my mind, All-Pro Hall of Famer John Stockton. He was something else.
Yeah, you're absolutely right when you see him in person when he was playing with the Jazz, because all you seen on TV was the highlights. You know, this and that and the other. If he had the ball, yeah, you might see him, but he did so many other things on the floor. A wonderful basketball player.
Yeah, he was.
And I admire him to no end, and he is a credit to the NBA.
Well, there's no doubt about that. And he, on many, many, many occasions, you can't even document all of them, he was so shifty and so good and had so much finesse and the passing ability to clean up the statement a little bit. He could fake them right out of their shoes.
They haven't done anything since.
All right. Hey, God bless you, man. Thanks. I appreciate it.
You bet.
All right, thank you. I understand that Wheels is calling Fred Snook right now. We're going to get him on the air, and we're running a little bit late this morning, so we're going to have to get this taken care of quickly. And Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. Don't forget Scott Gano and his crew. My goodness, they can help you with all your tree trimming and get your sprinklers repaired or put brand new sprinklers in this time of the year. I mean, hey, what are you waiting for? All you have to do is just get a hold of him at 438-2485. That number again, 438-2485. Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service. You call today. Oh, and by the way, too, he can help you with ideas on landscaping ideas to keep the water out of your basement next year if we get another great big snowfall like we had this winter. Scott Gano Landscaping and Sprinkler Service, 438-2485. Wheels, do we have Fred Snook on the air?
We do.
Oh, quickly, we're running late. Good morning, Fred. How are you?
Well, good morning, Zeb. We're doing good here. Yesterday, we got the two big tents set up, erected there at the fairgrounds. So, and the portable bleachers came in. So, we're getting closer to having a sale.
All right. Well, now, Fred, I'm running a little bit late here this morning, but I want to make sure that we highlight everything, that all the activity is going to start tomorrow with the Ty Evans Mulemanship Clinic, and then Thursday's a huge day, another Mulemanship Clinic, along with outfitters are welcome to the social hour, then the Salmon Select Parade downtown, the Idaho State Championship Wolf Hauling Contest. And I'm not going to let you off the hook this year. Right now, you're going to give us the original Fred Snook Wolf Howl on my program.
Well, kind of got a cold today, but it's...
Well, you're right. You do have kind of a cold, and I'm suggesting that you drink some Listerine.
To the pharmacy to get some NyQuil or something here. Woke up this morning with a frog in my voice here.
Well,
I have to talk for 5 hours a day, Friday and Saturday, so I got to get that fixed.
All right. Well, now listen, real quick.
That wolf howling, it's something to see. All the kids in town howl, like say the mayor howls. Sheriff howls. People, and there's some really good professional wolf howlers that come from Montana and Wyoming, and yeah, it's a big event and a lot of fun.
All right. Well, you've got all kinds of activities. A lot of people don't realize all the other things that are going on up there. Like on Friday, you're going to have the Best in the Round Pen Mule Challenge and the Backcountry Horseman Packing Clinic and Ranch Horse Competition, Pole and Barrel Competition. And then I want to say that on Friday at 6 o'clock, everybody's going to enjoy the 17th Annual Salmon Select Mule Sale. And I understand you've got mules coming in from all over the United States.
That's right. The one fellow's bring them in from Arkansas, the Midwest. A lot of good Wyoming and Montana mules come. Utah. Warren Matthews comes in from Oregon. So literally, yeah, we have I think 55 or 6 mules. And our goal this year is to break that $10,000 mark and sell one for more than $10,000. I think we're going to get that done.
Wow. And then on Saturday, the 8th, coming up this next Saturday, folks, you better get up to Salmon. They're going to have the trail horse competition, rope horse performance classes, and then the big 45th annual Salmon Select Horse Sale at 1 p.m. This is a ripping good horse sale. Fred, tell us real quick about it. What's going to happen on Saturday?
We got, there's 130 horses. More than 100 good geldings. We don't sell brood mares, yearlings, 2-year-olds. It's a riding using horse sale for 3 and up, basically. Like say, we have horses coming from Indiana, from Arkansas, from North Dakota, all the surrounding states. Just some great geldings. They can go on the web to salmonselectsale.com.
Okay.
Not horse sale, just salmonselectsale.com. It'll bring up the whole catalog. You can see the listings in color, the pictures of them, etc. So visit that, and then get prepared to be up here good to get here Thursday if you can, so you have some time to spend watching the mules and horses before they sell.
I'll tell you what, this gentleman has put his heart and soul into this sale, and it's a great one. It's known all over the Northwest, the 45th annual Salmon Select Horse Sale, and the 19th annual, I believe it is, a great big mule sale. Is it the 19th or the 17th?
Yeah, the 18th.
Oh, we'll split the difference. There you go. And I'm telling you what, they really put a lot of effort into making this a tremendous sale. It's coming up this week, starting actually tomorrow. Everybody head to Salmon and look for the great big circus tents and Fred Snook, our man, with the Salmon Select Horse Sale and Mule Sale. Fred, God bless you. Take care of your cold. I hope everything goes well.
Well, thanks, Zeb. And there's plenty of camping there at the fairgrounds. It's free camping, so if they can't get a room, they're welcome to camp.
Oh, Fred, thank you so much, and I hope the weather's perfect for you. Thank you, sir.
Bye.
You bet. Nice man right there, Fred Snook. I appreciate him. We're going to spend some time for the rest of this segment talking about a lady, and I use the term loosely, that is a known liar. And she's lying again. According to all the reports that I have read, and I have a pile of them here on my desk this morning, Susan Rice is involved again in lying about her activities and what she knows about perhaps surveillance from the Obama administration to the Trump campaign during the campaign process. She is absolutely a woman not to be trusted. Some of her verbiage this morning on the radio and TV was such that she was very careful about her words, and quite frankly, I think her lying lips should get her indicted, charged, and hopefully put in prison. We're going to be talking about Susan Rice and what others, even including some people in her Democratic Party, think of her and what she potentially did, allegedly, to unmask certain private citizens' names in surveillance. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. Don't forget, too, that our dear friend, Christine Pickup, hello, Dr. Pickup, over at Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids. You know, if you're having some trouble hearing things and you're going, what did he say? I couldn't hear him. Well, maybe you'd better go get a hearing screening. Now, hearing and the loss of is not just an age problem. No. As a matter of fact, it's probably related to medicine or some kind of a health condition, whatever. Please get over there, make an appointment, and let Dr. Pickup take a look and help you out. She can, she will, she did for me. She's right across from the Minidoka Hospital Emergency Room, and the number to call, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, you give them a call today. Really nice people. Oh, and by the way, when you talk about nice people, I've got to talk about good old Jeff and his crew at Magic Valley Irrigation. Oh, man, blue sky, Jeff. Get to work. I'm telling you, they're located at 44 East, 500 South of Burley. Number to call, two of them, 678-3101 or 431-3101. And they appreciate all the business the farmers have given them in the past, and they look forward this year of serving all the farmers again this year. They've got experts working for them that can help you on your problems. You be sure and give them a call today. Magic Valley Irrigation. That number again, 678-3101. Really good folks. Susan Rice, this is going to be quite a story. This is a huge story that someone in the Obama administration, and it looks like the fingers are pointing at Susan Rice, National Security Advisor for Obama. This is so big a story about illegal activities because of private citizens being unmasked and private citizens being surveilled by the government. That is a no-no. And none of the networks, to my knowledge, yesterday, and I did a lot of research on this, gave this story even kind of a nod, except Fox News. And Kerry Pickett from the Washington Post wrote a story, and Kerry Pickett has been on my program 5 or 6 times. And she said the headline, "If Flynn was unmasked, it would have to be Susan Rice who did it." And a Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee agreed that if anyone unmasked President Trump's former national security advisor, Michael Flynn, it would have to be Barack Obama's national security advisor, Susan Rice. Now listen to what California Democratic Representative Jackie Spires said. Quote, "Well, I haven't seen the documents yet, but she was the national security advisor. She had if anyone had the opportunity to unmask, it would be the national security advisor, because that person is giving advice to the president on issues around national security." Now, 2 anonymous United States officials told Bloomberg View columnist Eli Lake that Susan Rice requested the unmasking of U.S. persons and a number of intelligence documents that had information related to the Trump transition team and campaign. Now remember, these are citizens, private citizens. And according to Lake, the intelligence report were rundowns of surveilled conversations that were mainly between foreign officials talking about the Trump transition. Now, those are key words right there, folks. Talking about the Trump transition. Nothing illegal. They were talking about, well, now who do we contact here when Donald Trump takes office? Who's going to be our liaison here? And absolutely nothing illegal. But Susan Rice, National Security Advisor for Obama, very illegal, very illicit, and this story, mark my words right now, on 4/4 of this year, this is going to blow sky high. Because it, I think, will go clear to the top and Obama in the Oval Office. Your thoughts, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I hope so. I hope so. I just hope and pray that we can get rid of the garbage that has been pervade itself in Washington for a long time, and we can start to clean out the barn. And those that have done something like this with the Obama administration are going to be found out. They're going to be arrested and hopefully pay their dues. Southern Idaho Women's Expo is going to be on April 13th at the Best Western Burley Inn Convention Center, sponsored by the Mini-Cassia Chamber of Commerce, Idaho Central Credit Union, and Idaho Housing and Finance. It's going to start at 9 o'clock in the morning on the 13th, and don't forget, get your tickets in advance. Tickets are $20 in advance, $30 at the door, save $10, and it is going to be something else. They're going to have keynote speaker, newly elected Idaho Supreme Court Justice Robin Brody. They're going to have comedians. They're going to have everybody there having a good time on April 13th. Don't you miss it, okay? Got you covered. Folks, give me a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. This is really serious stuff. And another story posted by Richard Pollack of the Daily Caller, I bit my tongue, Daily Caller, said that Susan Rice ordered spy agencies to produce detailed spreadsheets involving Donald Trump. And there's one sentence that stood out here, and I'm so sick and tired of, well, Trump had a Russian connection, and the Ruskies were doing this, and Donald Trump was going to do this with the Ruskies. None of that. None of that. But one sentence stood out in the story. Quote, the overheard conversations involved, listen carefully to this, folks, and especially all you Trump haters. The overheard conversations involved no illegal activity by anybody of the Trump associates or anyone they were speaking with. No illegal activity. And further in the story it says, perfectly legal conversations. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning again. Susan Rice, she is just a real piece of work because she's been controversial ever since Obama put her in office, didn't she?
Well, after she created the lies and innuendos about a video that caused the Benghazi mess, and she lied through her teeth to all the networks and everything, I'll tell you what, I hope they go after her, and I'll say this publicly. I don't care what her race is, I don't care what her gender is, I just want her prosecuted.
Well, the thing of it is, most presidents, when they're out of office, they just go away. Like George Bush, he just went away and kept his nose clean, and everybody remembered for who he is. But Obama, he's got his fingers in everything right now.
And you know something, Keith?
The whole idea is to slow down the political process.
Oh, I totally agree with you. Sometimes we differ on opinions, politically, etc., but I totally agree with you that Barack Obama's residence in Washington, D.C. is for nothing more to create and maintain and run a shadow government that can do everything it can to absolutely be an obstacle in the Trump administration's way. I think Barack Obama is absolutely in charge of everything that's going on, and I think every finger should be pointed at him.
But the amazing thing is, nobody has been prosecuted. Nobody.
Yeah. The thing is, Keith...
General Flynn has probably come the closest to any of them. I think he's just an innocent bystander myself.
Well, the way he handled the situation with not telling exactly the forthrightness of the various calls and the situation and everything, I'm not going to stand up for Mr. Flynn on this situation, but I am going to stand up for the fact that when Susan Rice ordered this surveillance and they were basically spying on private individuals, and boy, by releasing some of the names that they were listening to, that is totally illegal, and I hope they go after them with a great big baseball bat because they deserve it.
Well, the thing a lot of people don't realize is they were trying to find scrutiny on Flynn before he was ever part of the administration.
Yeah. This is dirty, and it's going to get dirtier. And I think that this is going to show the low pond scum attitude of politics in our country. And I'm going to say this. The barrel needs to be cleaned out on both sides of the aisle. The pond scum is, of course, with the Democrats, and there's plenty of pond scum in the Republican Party. And I'm going to have Mike Crapo on about an hour from now, and he has been a real supporter for Neil Gorsuch for the Supreme Court. And I'm just going to tell him it's about time to John Wayne up, show some class, show some strength, and lead on these issues, and not be worried about the Democrats.
Well, Lindsey Graham, it amazes me how much he has got into the spotlight here lately, and he's kind of acts like him and Donald Trump are best friends.
All that glitters is not gold. Thanks, Keith. I got to run. What's that?
That's not true. They're not the best friends, but one thing I can say about President Trump, he has reached out with the olive branch to almost everyone. And that's just remarkable how he's brought people around to working with him.
All right, Keith. Appreciate you, man. You brought up some really good points this morning. Thank you very much. I am surprised that more people aren't calling in on this, because this is our government. This is our country. This is our prestige. This is our honor. This is our pride. And it's being thrown in the gutter by losers that are criminals. And they've distorted the red, white, and blue and the faith in this great country because of their illicit activities. Now, would I say the same thing if it was Republicans? Yes, because we've got a lot of house cleaning to do. We have a lot of house cleaning on both sides of the aisle. Caller, I'll be right there. Do not go away. Glad to have you with me. Stand by. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert, the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Minicash area. They are really nice people. And being nice people, they care about the folks that are residing there, and they want to make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place. They invite the public to visit their facility anytime for tours, and just check out all the great facilities available there. Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert. Number to call, 436-3200. I'll repeat that, 436-3200. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Caller, thank you. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. What bothers me and a whole lot of other people is what makes these people like Susan Rice and Hillary Clinton untouchable? We have laws. The same laws that apply to you and me should apply to them.
Well, maybe even more so, Tony, because of the scrutiny that should pervade itself onto these people that are in the national spotlight. Maybe they need to be looked at even closer because they're leading our country, and many of which are voted in by the constituents to represent them, and there's clearly illegal activities, and there's clearly a snubbing of the American people and what they want. I absolutely say we need to look at each one, man or woman, and throw the bums out.
You know, there's another thing that's going on in California right now. The Californians voted, I guess it's the government there, that the law enforcement makes these illegal people untouchable.
Yeah.
This is on the books now in California. Why?
You know, Tony, I can't answer your question. All I know is that I said this 3 weeks ago. You're an avid listener. You heard me say it. I said there are more rights and more freedoms availed to the illegal aliens coming into our country than there are rights for you and I as citizens and taxpayers to say no.
I don't know. This thing is getting so darn complicated, it just makes you angry and wants you to do something unreasonable.
You know, I feel your frustration and I feel your pain because every day when this program's over, I spend about maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours kind of clearing, making sure my guests are going to come back on the next day. And I have never in my life seen so much animosity and so much absolute hatred towards our government and the way it's being run or not being run, or the government that just left, the administration of the Obamas. I'm talking to people that are just frustrated and ready to get into a boxing ring and just go to work. They are mad.
People don't realize what we're going to lose. We're going to either be a globalist type of society or a communist society, and they're not going to like to live with it.
Yeah.
If it should come to pass, it's going to be too late to do anything about it.
Well, I tell you what, Tony, we're going to keep going as long as we can on this program to bring out the facts, and I get frustrated. I mean, I really get frustrated because I don't see a light at the end of the tunnel sometimes. I would love to have all the networks absolutely get a hold of this story on Susan Rice and point a damning finger at her and really ask for an investigation and go get her. I hope it happens.
Well, I hope so, and I hope it doesn't turn out to be another Hillary debacle.
I agree. Tony, always good to hear from you. Thank you, my dear friend. God bless. Have a good day. Thank you. Right now, I want to talk about the urgent cares. Oh, my goodness, they're open 7 days a week. Did you fall off the ladder, Bunky? Did you get a cut when you were trying to cut something with your jackknife or what? Oh, my goodness, you got a little bit of the flu. Well, don't forget the urgent cares are waiting to help you. Riverview Urgent Care, 382 North Overland and Burley. Twin Falls Urgent Care, 2392 Addison Avenue East in Twin. And Jerome Urgent Care, 133 West Avenue A in Jerome. Minor emergencies, major care. Caller, don't go away. I'll be right there. Gina's got the weather. I'll be right back. Go ahead.
Well, it looks like we're going to be in nice with Mother Nature, at least for the next couple of days. But as we get closer to the weekend, a possibility of rain showers does increase. Here is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch. Partly to mostly sunny skies for today. A little bit on the breezy side, definitely not as bad as it was yesterday. High at 52, overnight low of 31. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies, high of 65 with an overnight low of 41. Looks like we are going to have a storm front trying to roll in on Thursday. More clouds are going to be coming into our area. High at 67 with an overnight low of 45. 90% chance of rain showers on Friday. High of 65, overnight low of 40. And a 40% chance of rain showers on Saturday with a high of 51. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
Gina, thank you very much. Brought to you by the Urgent Cares. Riverview Urgent Care, 382 North Overland and Burley. Twin Falls Urgent Care in Twin Falls. And Jerome Urgent Care in Jerome. Yep, like I said, minor emergencies, major care. Stand by, caller. I'm coming. Don't forget Ag Express. Located around the Magic Valley, and they want you to call Dale and Paul at 438-8886. Allen in Twin Falls at 731-2495. Or Russ in Burley at 431-7175. Why should you call them? They're looking for drivers. They want to fill full and part-time positions, and retired folks are welcome to give them a call. They'll work around your schedule, 2 or 3 days a week, whatever's working best for you. New and maintained equipment, vacations, benefit packages. Oh, yeah. Ag Express is looking for drivers. Ag Express is looking for you. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You did a good job this morning. You let me follow that beautiful young lady that's so smart. I really enjoy listening to her weather report.
All right, Jerry, what can we do for you?
Well, I just wanted to make a comment about her what do you call her? Our lion lady?
Well, Susan Rice, absolutely. I don't think she could look up the word truth in the dictionary and understand the meaning.
Well, I kind of feel that most of the Democratic Party is following in her shoe steps. I just cannot understand their way of thinking and where they're coming from. It is out and beyond my beliefs that anybody could do some of the stuff that they do, like the abortion deal. And, it just rubs me wrong. And I hate to call in and tell people my opinion, but I have been doing it for a lot of years, so I'll probably keep on doing it.
No, I hope you do.
I just think it's wrong what they do.
Well, you and I share the same feeling, and I'm not just going to subject the Democrats to the scrutiny. I'm also going to say that I hope it's about time the Republican Party looked at themselves in the mirror and literally took a broom and a dustpan and tried to clean their own act up. We've got politics that absolutely is in the gutter, and it's about time they started to act with the prestige that they should have.
Well, their primary function should be to protect America and to protect the people of America and to protect our women and our children and the whole country as a whole.
I agree with you, Jerry. It's always good to have you on the program. You take care, my friend. I've got another call. God bless you. Thank you so much.
Okay, don't you go running today because you might trip.
I know.
Lord bless you and your whole audience.
All right, Jerry. Thank you.
Keep on and keep keeping on.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Hey, caller, before I get you on the air, I'll tell everybody about Golden Valley Warehouse. Oh, my goodness sakes. Quality seed for all the farmers in this area. Golden Valley Warehouse, 1000 South, 468 West of Burley. Number to call, 678-7324. Scott and the whole crew serving you. Commercial and custom processors of grain, bean, and seed. Family business that's been in business for well over 30 years, serving you with the best. Golden Valley Warehouse. And we say a good morning to all of them. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning. Well, most of the politicians, both parties, all they really care about, seemingly, is this getting reelected. And, of course, they make rules like their health care and so forth, that don't apply to the rest of us. So they have the real gravy train there for sure. But, people like Susan Rice, lie, that's just part of their itinerary, lie, and more lies. And it's really sad that we have allowed the lack of understanding of our Constitution and our educational system to bring about this situation in our country today.
Yeah, I agree. Adrian, real quick, give me a short summation on this because I'm running low on time. But honestly, with what the alleged incident is with Susan Rice ordering surveillance on the Trump campaign, and the Trump campaign did nothing or said nothing wrong, and many of those people, their names were released, etc., which is a felony. It's criminal, and somebody needs to be prosecuted. What do you think is going to happen from this day on?
Well, unfortunately, there'll be and there's just the cover-up's going to continue, unfortunately, and if anybody goes to jail, that'll be a real surprise to me, but I think it goes right to the top echelons of the Obama administration. They ordered this surveillance just like they did the IRS type situation. But I think the cover's unmasked now, and if the Attorney General and Chairman Nunes bring this stuff forth, there's a good chance that we might see some justice for a change, but it certainly won't happen unless a lot of us put the heat on our elected people.
I agree.
Because unfortunately, there's still this good old boys network, where they cover each other's tail end and so forth. But maybe this will be finally the straw that broke the camel's back.
All right, that's as short a summation as I can go with right now, but I appreciate it, and I think and I hope and I pray that you're right. Adrian, thank you for your call this morning. I got to take a break because I'm almost out of time.
We better, let them know what we think, folks, because emails, and don't send a letter. It's almost worthless to send a letter because it takes forever to get through the system, but phone calls and emails work real well.
All right, sir. Thank you. He's right. And, boy, I tell you, we all should be just pounding our fist on the desk and demanding better. And we're not getting it. We are not getting it. Hey, Ramsey Heating and Electric is offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Call them at 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric can save you money with Lennox. Hey, by the way, I know that this is another sports story, but I thought it was worthy of putting on the air here this morning. Tony Romo, quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, no more. It looks like he is going to bow out of professional football and not try to accept a contract from another team and accept a broadcast contract with ESPN. That is the story that was out this morning early, that Tony Romo, longtime Dallas Cowboy quarterback, is not going to pursue either A, staying with the Cowboys, or B, trying to find another team. It looks like a very lucrative contract, and one that's going to be better for his health, is going to be in broadcasting with ESPN. So we'll wait and see. By the way, spring tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, doing the right thing matters, and they do the right thing every day. They really care about your safe driving. And they've got many, many, many of their tires on sale right now for your cars, pickups, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers. Get in there and get your tires and drive carefully. And don't forget, too, the best in brake service. And I've got a whole bunch of sirens going by all of a sudden. And the best in front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, all of this and more at all 7 locations. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Poline in Twin Falls, and my buddy Randy on Overland in Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Okay, coming up next hour, we're going to have a really, really good conversation about illegal aliens, and many of which are coming up from Central America and are involved in the MS-13 gang, the deadliest gang in the world, and some of the atrocious things that they've done, and the left is being crybabies for these illegal aliens. This is obscene. We're going to talk to Frosty about that. Then at 9:45, we are expecting United States Senator Mike Crapo to call in. I know we're not going to have a lot of time, so we're going to have to be very to the point. I'm not going to take outside phone calls for that 10-minute interview. We got to hurry, get things done. I apologize. I've been begging for a longer half-hour segment with him so we could get you involved. And then at 10:06, we've got Dr. History. And then at 10:30 this morning, a very good speaker from the Cornwall Alliance for the Stewardship of Creation, E. Calvin Beisner. He's been on our program before. I think you'll find him very interesting. We're going to take a little break, send it back over to Wheels. I'll see you in about 7 minutes. Oh, here we go. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hour number 2. Zeb at the Ranch on Tuesday, April the 4th. Hope you're having a great day. Hey, we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, and, of course, a big spring tire sale going on right now. And let's not also forget some of our great advertisers like Western Way Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Way Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Way Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Way Services.
This morning I'm just going to talk about the route service. I really am, because if you've got garbage sitting on your back porch and you're going, what am I going to do? I don't have time to take this to the dump. Well, call Western Waste Services. They are always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969, and they can help you. It's easy, and then the big truck will pull up there, load them up, and you can wave goodbye to your garbage problems. Nice people serving you, loyal to the community and people that they serve. Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. 734-6969. Right now, before we go to Frosty Woldridge this morning, I've got a whole bunch of things I got to get in here real quick. And one, of course, is the Salmon Select Horse Sale. And the 45th Annual Salmon Select Horse and Mule Sale is going to be this week, starting tomorrow, Ty Evans Mulemanship Clinic. And then on Friday at 6 p.m., the big Salmon Select Mule Sale. Saturday at 1 p.m., the annual Salmon Select Horse Sale. And all kinds of other added activities. Don't miss it. Underneath the big tents up there at the Lemhi County Fairgrounds in Salmon, the 45th Annual Salmon Select Horse Sale and Salmon Select Mule Sale. You'd better be a part of it. Get up to Salmon this weekend. And speaking of animals and taking care of animals, and we all should, I want to remind everybody, be sure and contact your good friends over at Ark Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Hayburn. The number to call, 678-1111, 1177. They do have the warm hearts for cold noses. Yep, they've been voted Minnecache's best veterinary hospital multiple years. Dr. Bill, Dr. Liz, the whole crew. Mixed animal practice, meaning big or small. They love them all. Arc Animal Hospital, 750 21st Street in Hayburn. Number to call, number to remember, 678-1177. And real quick, I bet you Frosty's chomping on the bit. Don't forget the great big women's seminar coming up on April 13th. That's right around the corner at the Burley Best Western Inn. And on the 13th, they're going to start at 9 o'clock in the morning, and they have got a full slate of fun for all the gals. Southern Idaho Women's Expo tickets at the in advance are $20. At the door, $30, so save some money. And they're going to have outstanding speakers, all kinds of booth spaces at the Southern Idaho Women's Expo at the Burley Best Western Inn. Don't you miss it. Good morning, Frosty Woldridge, Golden, Colorado. How are you, my dear friend?
Good morning, Zip. Pleasure, sir.
You know, I want to start with something a little bit different this morning, and I wanted to talk to you about Central America and the thugs, the punks, and the danger of the MS-13 gang coming in here as illegal aliens. And I'm shocked, Frosty, that nobody seems to really care about what's coming up from Central America, and I'm worried about what's going to happen in this country with these killers. And they've had many killings associated with them, including just recently a 17-year-old boy that was mutilated on the highway by gang members of MS-13, and it's going to get worse, and it's not going to get better for a long time.
Well, that's correct. It's called Mara Salvatrucha, and the Mara Salvatrucha MS-13 gangs they're beyond brutal. They are sociopaths. I mean, they just as soon kill somebody as look at them. They would kill a human being like swatting a fly. And so many of you know that I think it's been over 50,000 deaths just in Mexico in the last several years because of the drug cartels fighting each other for turf.
Right.
And you know that Chapo guy that just got caught, and he's now going to go under U.S. court and probably rot in jail. He's replaced as fast as the next fly on the wall flies in from the barn, and so that's the irony of what's happening to our country, especially when you look at all of these different mayors of all these cities, over 340 sanctuary cities. They're housing the MS-13 gangs. They're protecting the MS-13 gangs. They're literally enabling all of these MS-13 gangs. And, for those of you who have not heard this statistic, 13 teens die every hour in the United States of America from drug overdose and alcohol abuse. And
right.
We have the ads running here in Denver. This is a national epidemic of drug overdoses, and it's all coming from all of these gangs and all of these drug cartels that are funneling all of these drugs into the United States, and they're protected in 340 cities, and that includes, of course, California. That includes Denver, Colorado, because all of these governors, like Jerry Moonbeam Brown, the governor of California, he has a sanctuary state. Hickenlooper here in Denver has a sanctuary state and promotes it and makes sure that the 287G, nobody gets to enforce the laws against illegal aliens. And so we are paying the price, and a lot of us are getting killed because of it. And it's amazing how when Jeff Sessions is going after all of these sanctuary cities, that they're all going to fight him, they're going to take him to court. And some New Jersey mayor said that it was chasing down 21st century slaves. I mean, it was an unbelievable comment by the Newark, New Jersey African American mayor, saying that this is a whole new slave chase to put slaves in jail. It's phenomenal how these people are turning reality upside down.
Well, the reason I wanted to start with the MS-13 gang, the members, and the illegal aliens that they are coming up from Central America is that it dovetails right into an excellent piece that you had written, and I got a copy of it right here in front of me, the United States of America flat out being invaded. Frosty, you and I both, college educations, we're not dumb, we're pretty perceptive as to what's going on in the world, and it makes me question and wonder how our society today can be so naive as to what's coming, what's here, and what's looming on the horizon.
You got to scratch your head. And to talk about that invasion, for those of you who would like to see my latest, it's at newswithviews.com. It's called Islam's Not So Subtle Onslaught into America, and that just published today. And yet you all hear the big stories like Ohio State University and the Muslim ran down everybody on the sidewalks, then jumped out and stabbed 9 people. Or the Rocky River, Ohio, just last fall, the father who was a Muslim immigrant, and he shot his daughter twice in the head as she slept. Because she was not, she was wearing jeans, so that's an honor killing. But what you're not hearing about is the message of Islam being taught in the schools, prayer rooms being created for all of these Muslim students, and there's one called Chatham, New Jersey, where the kids, the 7th graders, were being indoctrinated by the 5 pillars of Islam, and the daughters were being made to wear these hijabs, cover their faces and heads and all this to just pretend they're a Muslim, but for the week. And of course, the 7th graders were indoctrinated into this video. May God help us all find the true faith, Islam. There is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger, unquote. And this was part of this indoctrination video. And you sit here, and this is a quote that I think is very important, ladies and gentlemen, and dear fellow Americans. I'm quoting, "The reason why multiculturalism exists is to pretend that inferior cultures aren't inferior and that superior cultures aren't superior. It's a way to tell nice lies about rotten cultures and rotten lies about great cultures. And from this, we've set ourselves up not only to believe the enemy propaganda that Islam means peace, but to propagate it ourselves, all the while blaming ourselves for the enemy's war on us," unquote. That's by Bosch Faustine, and that was I picked that off of the internet. And you sit here, that's what's happening to us. This multiculturalism thrust and this diversity thrust is allowing Islam to penetrate our schools, for heaven's sakes, and starting to totally and completely indoctrinate our children. And then you look at the drugs that are coming up from the MS-13 gangs, and you look at the 500,000 illegal aliens that are coming into our country every year, and I go down to all of these points in this piece. We're being invaded, Zeb. That's all there is to it. We're being invaded as a country.
I absolutely agree with you 100%. And then last week after our program on Tuesday, I did some follow-up on the Department of Education. The National Department of Education that was absolutely funding, and they found out that it was true, they had their name in the credits, a program at various schools that was called Access Islam. And they were funding and teaching how to teach kids how to roll out a prayer rug, how to issue a Muslim prayer, and how to honor Sharia law. Wait a minute. In our schools, you can't talk about the Bible. You can't talk about biblical stories or prophecy. You'll get thrown out with that separation of church and state, but it's all right for the Department of Education to sponsor programs, Access Islam. Are we nuts?
Well, we are nuts because what the Muslims don't teach once they get their tentacles into these school systems, they don't teach the fact that the Quran mandates 20,000 honor killings annually of Muslim women in Islamic-dominated countries every year. They don't they don't talk about killing of homosexuals. They don't talk about women as property of men, and that's what goes on in Muslim-dominated countries. They don't talk about female genital mutilation of all of their girl children. I mean, literally sexually cut them to pieces. They don't talk about women are not allowed the choice of spouse or dress or religion or education. They're kept totally, literally by the dominance of the men. That women are not allowed to vote, to drive, or express themselves. Men are the total dominant, misogynistic aspect of Islam. And women are not allowed to leave the house without a male escort. They're not allowed to own a house. Women are beaten as a way of life in Islam. Those are the facts. Violence mandated by the Quran states, and this is in the Quran, I read it myself, convert or kill all non-believers. That's what they don't talk about in this indoctrination of Islam in our schools. And it's going to continue because as their numbers keep growing and they're coming in by the tens of thousands every year, we're going to see our country completely inundated by a foreign invading force called Islam. And it's happening right now in front of our eyes, and nobody's doing anything about it. They're not stopping it.
You know, when you sit here and we talk to each other every week on this subject, and we talk about how we're losing our culture, and we're welcoming other cultures into this country, and they're being like a dividing cancer, whether it's Detroit, whether it's Minneapolis, Minnesota, whether it's in California, it doesn't make any difference. And you would think there would be enough pride in America, whether you're on the left side of the aisle as a Democrat or on the right side of the aisle as a Republican. You think there would be enough respect and honoring of our country and our heritage that people would stand up? Frosty, I don't see it.
Yeah, you don't see it. And again, you read about what's going on over in London, England. London, England now has voted in a Muslim mayor. Because why? Well, because the Muslims are about 2.5 million, and London, England's no longer a British town. It is just overrun by Muslims, and you'll see all these burqas by all the women, and you see all the they have Sharia patrols. You can't even go out and you can't do anything that's in violation of Sharia law. And now London, England features 423 new mosques. And it has 100 Sharia courts that are all in defiance of British law. Boy, you have to understand, that's coming to America. And what these Muslims do is create parallel societies. And their parallel societies are the no-go zones. You just don't dare go into the no-go zones of France, certainly in Germany, certainly in Malmö in Sweden, now in Bergen and Oslo in Norway. These Muslims mean business, and they don't back down. They keep coming in, and as their numbers grow, each country continues to lose its own society, continues to lose its own ethos. Belgium is literally being dominated by Muslims right now, the same thing with Holland. And the same thing's happening to us. Again, I've just gone through, and in the video, Dearborn, of course, Dearbornistan now, and Hamtramck are completely covered with Muslims. And that's what's happening. And again, it's against the McCarran-Walter Act of 1952, which is a law that says no organization can be allowed into the United States that plots the overthrow of the U.S. Constitution. And Islam is an organization, a political, economic, and religious organization that is bent on literally conquest and destroying any country that it inhabits, and that's what's going on.
I totally agree with you. We have a caller with a question. Caller, quickly. You're on the air. Go ahead, please.
Well, hey, Frosty, you know, this little tiny 4-year-old girl that was, I guess she's 5 now. Okay, whatever. I'm getting corrected by my wife while I'm on the phone here. It's okay.
It's really irrelevant. Go ahead.
Yes, it is. So, they're finding out that the local media, the local city council, and the mayor have not been friendly to these people whose poor daughter, we found out that this heinous act was so terribly bad, above and beyond what you would call a standard rape, If I can't even begin to go into the things that were done to this poor child, and they're getting no sympathy from anybody. And here we have a situation where we're leaning towards the political correct avenue in the city of Twin, and the poor victim and their parents have been ignored, neglected, and disrespected. I'll hang up.
Frosty, he's referring to a case here locally where there was quite a bit of press coverage. I'm sure you're aware of it. Your response, please.
Yes, well, and again, this is going on across. You have to understand, in the Islamic world, rape is the norm. I mean, there's no romance. These brutes of men, under the Islamic doctrine, literally, rape is the norm. That's what they're doing all over Europe right now. And a woman is nothing more than property. And the child rape in the Islamic world is just standard operating procedure. You have to understand, these people are barbarians, and no matter how disgusting the rape is of a 5-year-old or a 6 or a 7-year-old or a 9-year-old getting married to a 40-year-old Muslim man, that is the standard operating procedure of Islam in Islam-dominated countries. Again, 20,000, according to the United Nations, on honor killings. Women are killed 20,000 every year. Just because the husband wants a new wife, he kills the one he can't afford, he gets another wife. That's how it operates, and that's how they operate. And this is a violent, vicious, amoral religion. And again, it's a political, economic, religious organization bent on conquest. And what's amazing is, even up in Minneapolis, the Minneapolis Tribune, Star Tribune, they side with all of the Muslims up there, and they absolutely will not, literally will not report on all of what's going on with 100,000 Somali Muslims up there that are really creating a complete welfare state, and have completely created a complete no-go zone, and they've taken over that entire section of Minneapolis, Minnesota. But the same thing in Hamtramck and Dearborn, right there in Michigan, they're now all Muslim no-go zones, and you better watch yourself if you step out of line. And notice, you'll never see an American flag in any of those now Muslim areas. And you're going to see more. I mean, that Rocky River, that guy that shot his daughter 2 times in the head while she slept because she disobeyed him, and she was becoming too westernized, and she wore jeans. That's been going on, but you won't hear about it in the mainstream press. They will not publish anything or report anything that's against the multicultural diversity aspect of what's happening to America.
All right, real quick, Frosty, I'm almost out of time. I've got a minute and a half left on this segment. Your thoughts on a grade for the Trump administration for now, January through the first part of April, on a 1 to 10 scale, your grading of the new presidential administration?
Well, he gets an A+ for all of his attempts to bring about law and order. I would like to give an F- to Charles Schumer of New York, Nancy Pelosi, absolutely all of the Democrats that are literally doing all these antics. They're trying to stop Gorsuch, who's one of the finest possible nominees for the Supreme Court. I give an F- for Congress, because they're not pulling together for and with the President of the United States that we, the people, elected, and they're fighting him all the way. I've never seen such a scurrilous attack day in and day out. Jake Tapper, should be tossed into the journalistic trash bin. Anderson Cooper, he's a shameful. And then that Don Lemon on CNN, they all get F- because they are news people who are so slanted that it's just disgusting. So I'm going to give Donald Trump an A+ for what he has attempted to do, and I'm going to give Congress an F- for what they're doing to his attempts and trying to neutralize or nullify him. I've never seen anything like it in my entire life.
Frosty, I wish we had more time. Always a pleasure. And God's blessings to you. Talk to you next Tuesday. Frosty Woldridge in Golden, Colorado. Take care, my friend. Thank you so much. There he is. Good friend, Frosty Woldridge. I appreciate it. Hey, by the way, real quick, I want to remind everybody about Vicky's Country Garden at 185 South, 600 West of Paul. Oh, they're celebrating 20 years in business. And for all your garden and your plant needs, they've got it all over there with Miss Vicky at Vicky's Country Gardens. Don't forget all your decorative bark and your rock and your all the soil. And get ready for bugs and fungus and landscaping, because all of that's going to be coming up with the warmer temperatures. You stay in touch with Vicky's Country Garden, 185 South, 600 West of Paul, and tune in on Mondays for Gardening with Idiots, named after me, Vicky at Vicky Country Garden. Thank you very much. Mondays at 9:15. By the way, I want to remind you, too, there is going to be a huge spring community sale, and that's going to be at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds, put on by Rogge Auctions. And this is going to be on April 8th, coming up this weekend at 10 a.m. Don't forget that, my goodness sakes. And they need more consignments. They want yours. So get a hold of them today. Call Ron Rogge at 431-6187 or Cade Rogge at 431-0074. That's going to start at 10 o'clock on April 8th this coming weekend. Minidoka County Fairgrounds, sale managed by Rogge Auctions. You be sure and get a hold of them today. By the way, excuse me, we are at about 15 minutes expecting a call from United States Senator Mike Crapo, and that should be coming up at about 15 till the hour. Want to also say thank you to Hanson Mortuary. And I am very, very blessed to have them be a part of our program for years and years and years. Joel Heward, the manager, his family, and his staff, always serving you with the absolute best of caring and helping with all the arrangements when there's the passing of a loved one. Always with the highest ethical standards, with unquestioned integrity. Please write the number down and put it where you can find it, 436-5636. 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, located at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Joel Heward and his staff, like I said, they believe that every life is worth remembering. And please contact them if you have questions. 436-5636. Wheels, if you would, turn maybe that feed line down another little bit, just a touch, if you would, please, down, and I would really appreciate it. We've been experimenting with different feed line quality coming down the line to me, and it's still a little fuzzy this morning, and maybe it might still be a little over-modulated. Appreciate your help over there. By the way, too, calls are welcome and appreciated right now at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The Republicans are saying, and I heard many say it yesterday, that Supreme Court Judge nominee Neil Gorsuch will, underline the word will be, by Friday at midnight at the latest, the new Supreme Court Justice. Good. I certainly hope that it's about time that the Republicans started to show some John Wayne attitude, will stand up and be unified in their voice, and let the Democrats and the rest of this country know that they are in the leadership position in the House, in the Senate, and in the Oval Office. And don't step around Democrats. Don't panty waste around little problems with the Democrats. Take charge. Be in control, because you are in control. And be leaders. You know, there is such chaos right now between the two parties. And the simple facts are these. Donald Trump won the election. The Democrats lost the election. Game over. Go take a shower. Take your uniform off. The winning team rules. Stop pandering to the Democrats. They lost. Don't step around them. If they get in the way, step over them. I'm absolutely repulsed that they're not showing more strength on any issues. Whether it's health care, whether it's the wall, whether it's immigration, whether it's the economy, whatever. You won. Act like it. And I'm going to tell the same thing in just a few minutes to Senator Crapo. See what his response is. Don't forget Let's Ride. Oh, my goodness sakes, they're located at 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. And this is where the fun is sold. And they're open Monday through Friday, 9 to 6, Saturdays 9 to 4. And if you don't have an ATV, I highly suggest that you get a hold of them. Get over there. They've got all the new ATVs, side-by-sides, dirt bikes, you name it, for 2017. A whole showroom full. And if you do have an ATV, don't forget to get it serviced and ready to hit the hills. And they've got a fantastic service department and all the accessories that you may need. So stop over there today. Let's Ride, 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and the World. It's true where the fun is sold. Surely you must have some comments this morning. So give us a jingle on the landline, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. The reason I said what I said a moment ago is I'm sick and tired of this kind of a kindergarten atmosphere by the Republican Party. You know, why don't you just go in to the halls of the House or the Senate, or even Trump in the administrative Oval Office, and just take control. Don't let log jams, don't let little holes in the road stop you. Step over them, go, lead, be leaders. You were elected to do a job. Don't worry about the crybaby left, the Chuck Schumers, the eyebrows of Nancy Pelosi. Boy, they're weird. And Dianne Feinstein and many others. Do your job and don't care about pandering to the Democrats. Your thoughts. Give me a call. By the way, when you think about life insurance and you think about Cameron and Siemens, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, all of this and more, work with the professionals that absolutely know all of the life insurance and health insurance for you, your family, and your business. Give them a call. Make an appointment. 436-4424. That number again, 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert, the absolute best serving you. Give them a call today, 436-4424. Your turn. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Like to hear what your thoughts are in regards to leadership. You know, I listened to, and it was kind of sad yesterday, that after Senator Kuhn from Delaware got done trashing Neil Gorsuch, next on the docket was our Senator Mike Crapo. And very unfortunately, and they were carrying a lot of that hearing on Fox News, and it was very unfortunate they went to another story, and they showed just Mike talking, but they didn't really play the airing of what he was saying about Neil Gorsuch, and it was kind of sad because Kuhn from Delaware came out and just scorched and denigrated Gorsuch like Feinstein and the others had, and Al Franken. You know, that's a joke wearing a suit. That is a joke wearing a suit. Al Franken has no business being a United States Senator. I remember when he was a absolute blithering idiot comedian trying to be funny on Saturday Night Live, and things haven't changed. And now here he is, a senator representing Minnesota. And some of the comments that he made the other day in that hearing, they were so blindly dumb that it's amazing that this man could ever be elected to a post higher than dog catcher. Give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget Ag Express. Dale and Paul, Allen and Twin, and Russ and Burley are looking for drivers. That's right, full and part-time positions, and retired folks are welcome. And they'll work around your schedule 2 or 3 days a week, whatever works best for you. And they've got the very best of new and maintained equipment, vacation schedules, benefit programs, major medical and dental. Oh, my goodness. chance, you better call them today. Dale and Paul, 438-8886. Alan in Twin Falls, 731-2495. And Russ in Burley, 431-7175. Ag Express is looking for drivers. Ag Express is looking for you. I think what we're going to do right now is I'll play the weather real quick because we are waiting, as I said, for Senator Mike Crapo to call in. And the weather brought to you this hour by Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company, CPAs. They've been providing accounting services to the Mini-Cash area for well beyond over 50 years, with the very best in tax return preparation, tax planning, bookkeeping services, retirement planning, all of this and so much more. And 2 locations to serve you, Burley and Rupert. That's, of course, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, it looks like we're going to be in nice with Mother Nature, at least for the next couple of days, but as we get closer to the weekend, a possibility of rain showers does increase. Here is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch. Partly to mostly sunny skies for today. A little bit on the breezy side, definitely not as bad as it was yesterday. High at 52, overnight low of 31. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies, high of 65 with an overnight low of 41. Looks like we are going to have a storm front trying to roll in on Thursday. More clouds are going to be coming into our area. High of 67 with an overnight low of 45. 90% chance of rain showers on Friday. High of 65, overnight low of 40. And a 40% chance of rain showers on Saturday with a high of 51. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
When you need the best in professional services, whether you're starting a business, a partnership, or a corporation, or business owners that want to hire more employees, talk to the pros, and that's, of course, Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. With locations in Burley and Rupert, they've been serving the Mini-Cash area for well over 50 years. Phillips, Oaks, Goodwin, Crane, and Company. All right, calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear from you folks out in the audience. Time for you to give me a call, if you would, please, and we'll discuss that. Real quick also, I want to get this in, that Russell Smith, the 3 times Purple Heart winner, dear friend of this program and resident of this area, is at the Idaho State Veterans Home at 1957 Alvin Ricken Drive, room 70 in Pocatello. You know what? Let's just send him cards and letters and well wishes, and his birthday's coming up on May the 6th, about a month away, and we want to make it the happiest birthday ever. I believe he's going to be 93 years old, and like I said, a 3-time Purple Heart recipient fighting for our country, Russell Smith. And that address again, Idaho State Veterans Home, 1957 Alvin Ricken Drive, room 70 in Pocatello. Caller, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning again, Zeb. The news media could really put the light on what's going on in these cities that are being taken over by the Muslims. By photographing what's going on in all the cities here and how the takeover is happening and show it on TV every single day. And people might wake up to the fact that we are being invaded and taken over.
You know, Tony, I think your idea is well said. I'd like to see some documentaries. I know that some people are putting together some documentaries right now. And Dinesh D'Souza, a man that has been in the target of the government for the last couple of years, he's put together some outstanding documentaries. But more has to be done, more has to be elaborated on, and there has to be some reporters working for various TV news stations and TV news stations that have the courage or the intestinal fortitude to put the story out. It's got to be reported because we are losing our culture and our heritage with these people taking over various parts of the United States.
Well, too many people have the idea that it can't happen here attitude, and it is happening, and they need to be exposed.
Well, they need to not only be exposed, but we need to be woken up. Our whole society, I think, is asleep and just basically absorbing what the news media and the do-gooders in our society, the liberal loons, want to have us eat, sleep, and breathe. And then if we fight back, they call us hateful bigots. I guess I'm a hateful bigot because I'm going to keep fighting for what America stands for, not what they want to turn America into.
Well, our younger generation's in a stupor nowadays, and that doesn't help either.
No, but I'm not going to get totally negative after I had some outstanding younger people, millennials, on my program last week, and I had a great millennial here on the program yesterday. I still think there is hope, but we've got to speak out and speak up.
Okay, I hope so. Okay, Zeb.
All right, Tony. Thank you. God bless you, man. Appreciate it. Hey, by the way, for our seniors, don't forget Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center at 924 Christian Way in Rupert. The number to call, 436-3200. And they make every effort to make Autumn Haven the best place. It's the only locally owned and operated assisted living facility in the Mini-Cassia area. And they support the local businesses, and they take the residents out to the community events such as the OVAC production, Wilson Theater, many, many more. And they absolutely want you to stop by for a visit and see the facilities. They are beautiful, and the people are very helpful. At Autumn Haven Assisted Living Center, 924 Christian Way in Rupert. Number to call, 436-3200. They're small compared to some, but with a bigger heart than most. Wheels, have we heard from the senator as of now?
As of now, I haven't heard anything. He had called in 10 minutes early, and I was going to text you, but I had some phone complications, but he ended up hanging up, so I'm hoping that he calls back in at 9:45.
I hope so, too. Did you tell him that that's when we had it scheduled?
I did, and
okay.
He knew that he was about 10 minutes early.
Well, I tell you what, if that ever happens again, we'll take the extra time with him, and I'll cut off anything that I'm doing on my program, okay?
Okay, that's
all right.
fine. I just wasn't sure if you were able to do that or not.
That's fine. That's very good. I hope he's going to call back right away because we'd like to get him on the air. Time is wasting, and I've got a lot of things that I want him to bring up this morning, especially about the Gorsuch to the Supreme Court and his stand. Now, I will say that Mike wrote a very interesting piece about Judge Neil Gorsuch, and I wanted him to kind of condense it and give us kind of a background on this. And I also wanted him to talk about, if we had the time, a little bit about Susan Rice and the Obama administration and their basic spying on the Trump people during the campaign this last fall. So again, we are waiting, not patiently, for Senator Mike Crapo to call back and be a part of the program this morning. Once again, this is called Covering Your You-Know-What. I want to remind you about Lennox and Ramsey Heating and Electric, and our thanks go out to them, and we just want to remind everybody that Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems, whether it's a gas furnace, an air conditioner, or a heat pump. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Don't forget, call the number 678-0459 and learn how Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox can save you money. Well, Wheels, nothing yet, huh? Maybe he's on the phone. Oh, very good, very good. Thank you. Right now, without further ado, I want to get right to the phone line and say good morning to a good friend and our Senator, United States Senator Mike Crapo. Good morning, sir. How are you?
I'm well, Zeb, and I apologize for the hiccups we've had this morning. It's just crazy back here.
Well, I know it is, and I want to jump right into it, Mike, and not waste any time. I know that you followed Mr. Coon, Senator from Delaware, yesterday as he berated and denigrated Neil Gorsuch for the Supreme Court. And unfortunately, you followed him, but your remarks weren't put on national TV. Give me a condensation of how you feel about Neil Gorsuch on the Supreme Court.
Well, first of all, I appreciate that you're pointing that out, and I would say to all the listeners, on my website, we have put where you can get my full remarks. And I encourage everyone to do so, because I laid it out there. First of all, I made it very clear that this is Neil Gorsuch is an outstanding nominee. He follows the law. He doesn't bring politics into it, and he believes in the Constitution. And the other thing I pointed out, which I think is important, is the Democrats are saying that the Republicans are going to pull the nuclear option and, all of this stuff. Well, we all know that, first of all, the nuclear option was done by Harry Reid for all nominations but Supreme Court justices a while back. But I pointed out in my remarks that the history of the United States Senate is that Supreme Court judges in particular are not filibustered. You can go back over the entire history of the 200-plus years of our country, and there have only been 4 tries to filibuster a Supreme Court nominee. And in 3 of those 4, both parties said, no, we don't filibuster nominees. In one of them, and that's Abe Fortas in 1968, there was a bipartisan filibuster. 19 Democrats and 24 Republicans rejected his nomination. That was a nomination to become the Chief Justice. And it was a bipartisan filibuster for nonpartisan reasons. My point is there has never been a Republican filibuster of a Supreme Court nominee. And we should not allow that to go forward if there's one tried by the Democrats now.
Mike, I'm just going to say this because we're good enough friends, and I've known you for a long time. You guys won the election. You run the House. You run the Senate. Trump is in the Oval Office. It's time to start standing up and saying, we don't care what the Democrats want. Put your big boy pants on and don't step around, but step over the Democrats that are trying to slow government and hurting me and everybody else, your constituents, with a time waste of trying to defer Neil Gorsuch as the Supreme Court nominee. It's time to stand up and just run it through.
I believe that's what will happen. I really do. I can't predict for sure how everybody will vote, but I believe that's what will happen. And I hate to make predictions that I might have to pull back on, but we are going to move to the Gorsuch nomination today, and I believe that we will finish it this week. Now, I don't, like I say, you never can tell for sure what will happen in a legislative process like this, but we are going to move expeditiously, just as you said. And I would point out, there has been a never-heard-of-before effort to stall this president, not just on the Supreme Court nomination, but on every other cabinet and sub-cabinet nomination. And we have pushed them through at the fastest pace possible under the rules of the Senate. And we have basically stood up and said, we are not going to let you stop these nominees just because you can't stand the outcome of the election. And we're going to move forward. And I certainly agree with the sentiment that you expressed.
Well, I'll say this, Mike, and I think you'll agree with me on this. All the Democrats are doing is just trying to bend the rules and trying to reshape everything in their favor and make the Trump administration and make you as a Republican senator all look bad, that nothing's getting done, so that when the midterms come up, they can hold up their flag and say, oh, we, the Democrats, can do a better job, vote for our senators and our congressmen. That's the only reason they're doing this, is to try to stall for the midterms. That's my opinion. Tell me I'm wrong.
I can't tell you you're wrong. I think you have a very valid point. As a matter of fact, one of the other attacks that was made on Judge Gorsuch yesterday in our markup was that there are a lot of groups out there who are spending money to support his nomination. And one of the points I made in my remarks is that's true. But what you don't point out is there's a lot of groups out there who are organized to stall his nomination and to undercut what goes on in Congress right now because they will not support the election of Donald Trump. And we have to stand up to it. And we have to recognize that that is the strategy. What you are talking about is the strategy to stall and delay and prohibit this administration from moving forward with the kinds of important reforms that the president has said he would seek if elected. And we've got to stand up and fight.
I got to tell you, one of the dumbest statements I ever heard from a sitting senator was by Dianne Feinstein the other day, when she said that she was opposed to Neil Gorsuch because he is an original believer in the constitutional and original constitutional values. Good heavens, isn't that what it's all about?
It is what it's all about. And in fact, just another bit of the debate from yesterday, Judge Gorsuch has issued 2,700, I think, it's either 2,700 or 2,100 opinions since he's been a circuit court judge, or participated in that many. And the whole fight over him over the last 2 or 3 weeks has gone down to 3 or 4 or 5 opinions where they didn't like the outcome. And the argument has been that he should be more willing to be more flexible to change the law so that he gets outcomes that they like.
Oh, yeah.
And that's exactly what he would not do. He said, I think over 90 times in the 3 days that he testified, that he would follow the law and not let his personal judgments get in the way of what the law said. In fact, he said at one point, that's your job. That's Congress's job. If you want to change the law or have some different policy, my job as a judge is to interpret the law reasonably and fairly and impartially.
Mike, real quick, I want you to respond to what's going on the other story that I think is huge, and that's the surveillance of the Trump campaign, and it looks like the fingers are being pointed again to a lying lady that caused trouble about Benghazi, and that's the former National Security Advisor, Susan Rice. What are your thoughts about this story that just seems to get peeled more like an orange every day?
Well, first of all, I don't sit on the Intelligence Committee, and so I cannot verify the information, but you are reporting what's out in the news media that, if true, is outrageous. The reporting is that after the election, but before Trump's inauguration, while she was still in a position as National Security Advisor, that she requested the unmasking of certain surveillance. Now, what that means is when we are surveilling through wiretapping or other sources a foreign entity or a foreign person, and an American is on that conversation, so the American gets pulled into the surveillance, the law says the American's identity must be masked so that we protect the privacy of Americans. She asked, apparently, according to the reports, to unmask that information with regard to people who are related to the Trump campaign. And if so, that means that she very well could be the source of some of the information that has been leaked out, which would be an outrage.
Mike, not only that, but I'm asking you to speculate a little bit. This leads all the way up to the Obama administrative office. Does it not if they're spying on the incoming presidential campaign?
Well, I think that she is definitely, the National Security Advisor is a high-level official in the administration, and in this case, she was in his administration. And so I agree with you. This is direct connections to the Obama administration. If all of this information pans out, now I want to repeat, I'm relying on what I'm reading in the newspaper right now. I do not have independent verification of what has happened yet.
Well, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your remarks on Neil Gorsuch, and I certainly appreciate your straightforward manner this morning. Stay tough, stay firm, and congratulations for a great interview. Thank you, Mike Crapo. Come back soon.
I appreciate the chance to visit with you, Zeb. Thank you.
All right, God bless. United States Senator Mike Crapo on our program this morning talking about the Gorsuch nomination. And you know what? I meant what I said. You know, it's time. It's past time for the Republicans to stand up and say, we won the election. The Democrats lost. Look out, boys. We're coming through. Moses is going to part the water, and we're going to put our agenda through first. Yours we'll consider later. Sit down on the sideline. Don't get your knee pads dirty. It's time to start acting like you were and are the winners of the last election. We're going to take a little break right now. Dr. History's just walked in the studio, and he'll be coming up next. Wheels, take it away. Oh, my goodness sakes, here we go, rocking and rolling, and Dr. History is around the corner, and we're going to have him coming up in just a minute. Hey, by the way, Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, and, of course, a great big spring tire sale going on right now. And don't forget, too, Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Call them at 734-6969. And let's see. Oh, the women's seminar. Oh, my goodness, I can't forget that. It's coming up on April 13th at the Burley Best Western Inn. Southern Idaho Women's Expo, sponsored by the Minnecasia Chamber of Commerce, Idaho Central Credit Union, and Idaho Housing and Finance. Holy moly, they're going to open the doors at 9 o'clock in the morning on the 13th. Tickets are $20 in advance, $30 at the door. So everybody call the Chamber office, 679-4793. Southern Idaho Women's Expo on April 13th. Let's see, what else have I got to tell you real quick? Oh, yes, I don't want you to forget about Lee's Furniture. They've just announced a brand new no-tax plan. What is this huge sale? Why, it's a presidential promise you can count on. No money down, no interest for 12 months on approved credit. Oh, can you save money on recliners? Oh, my goodness, they've got all your bedroom furniture. And listen to the great savings on the Beauty Rest closeout mattress event. Woo-hoo! All of this going on at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Jason and the crew at 459 Overland in Burley. You be sure and get a hold of them today or give them a call, 878-2341. Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. Right now it's time for one of my very favorite segments, and that's, of course, Dr. History, and it's brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport with Zach and the rest of the crew. And now, without further ado, good morning, Dr. History.
Good morning. How you doing, Zeb?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm doing great. Beautiful day out there.
We were sitting here quickly. I got to have you comment on this, talking about Gonzaga and North Carolina. You and I both shared the same opinion.
Oh, a little disappointed, but, you know, really for Gonzaga to make it to the final championship game, I'm proud of them.
Yep.
They worked hard. They're a great team, great coach.
I agree.
Loved watching it.
Yep, absolutely.
So,
you remember the TV series Rawhide?
Yes.
And Gil Favor, Rowdy Yates? Yep. But there was a lot of work putting those cattle drives together before you actually said head them up, move them out, wasn't
That's exactly what we're going to talk about.
Go ahead.
But before we go, I want to say hi to 4 guys that have made comments on my webpage. There's Bobby, Mike, Travis, and a guy named Sam. Sam actually sent me some pictures. He is a antique gun collector.
Really?
And he sent me some pictures of his guns. And anyway, I was going to bring them out and show it to you. Maybe next week I'll bring out those pictures and show you his antique gun collection.
Okay.
Anyway,
great.
Okay, so this is a book. It's called Log of a Cowboy.
Uh-huh.
And this is a narrative written by a guy named Andy Adams.
Okay.
So I like this because it's his story. So most of what I'm going to be saying is as if it's in first person.
Okay.
As he's the one that's telling it.
Like
okay?
I. Okay.
So anyway, so he starts out, he says, it was a nice 10-day trip from San Antonio to the Rio Grande River. We made 25 to 30 miles a day, giving the saddle horses all the advantage of grazing on the way. He says the outfit reached Brownsville on March 25th. You've been there, I'll bet.
Yeah, you know, and that is some of the hottest humid country in the country.
Yeah. Now, it's March 25th, so maybe not quite so bad.
Yeah, but it's going to get bad.
It's going to get bad. So, anyway, it's about 6 miles below Fort Brown. But the Rio Grande right here was about 200 yards wide. And at this stage of the year, it was kind of at running full speed. Yep. So it was wide.
Yep.
Now, Jim Flood is the guy, and I'm going to refer to him. He was the foreman.
Okay.
But he had spent the past 2 weeks across the river receiving, and they call it road branding, the herd. So when the cattle should reach the river on the Mexican side, we would accept everything bearing the circle dot brand on the left hip.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now the contract called for 1,000. He calls them she cattle, 3 and 4 years of age, and 2,000 4 and 5-year-old beeves.
Whoa.
Estimated as sufficient to fill a 1 million pound beef contract.
Wow.
Now, for fear of losses on the trail, our foreman had accepted 50 extra head of each class, so our herd at starting would number about 3,100 head.
Now, these are basically your wild Harum Scarum Corianti Mexican cattle, aren't they?
Yeah, well, they were coming up from the interior of Mexico.
Oh, yeah. They don't like people.
They don't. I've got stories about that. But a number of different rancheros had turned in cattle and making up the herd, and Jim Flood reported them in good, strong condition.
Yeah.
Because they're going to make this, trip. So anyway, Jim Flood, he knew cattle. He's the kind of guy you would want running a herd.
Okay.
He says he was indulgent with his men and would overlook any fault so long as they rendered faithful service. In fact, it says Flood hired a man the year before, and one of the other guys said to Jim Flood, quote, "Don't you know that man you've just hired is the worst drunkard in this country?" And Jim Flood says, "No, I didn't know it, but I'm glad to hear he is. I don't want to ruin an innocent man, and a trail outfit is not supposed to have any morals." So just so the herd don't count out any shy on the day of delivery, I don't mind how many drinks the outfit takes.
There you go. There you go.
Anyway, the next morning after going into camp, the first thing was the allotment of our mounts for the trip. Now, Flood had the first pick and cut 12 bays and browns. His preference was for solid colors.
Yeah.
And though they were not the largest in the remuda, now for those that don't know, the remuda is the herd of horses.
Yep.
So anyway, when it came the boys' turn to cut out, we were only allowed to cut one at a time, by turns, even casting lots for first choice. We had ridden the horses enough to have a fair idea as to their merits, and every lad was his own judge. There was, as it happened, only 3 pinto horses in the entire saddle stock, and these 3 were the last left of the entire bunch.
They did not like paints and pintos. They didn't like them.
No, a colored horse they thought was stupid.
Yep.
They did not like them.
And I understand from books that I've read, correct me if I'm wrong, your paints, your pintos, and your palominos were the least that they wanted.
Yeah, they just, and I don't know where that came from, but anyway, and that's what it says. He says, practical cattlemen know that this freak of color in range-bred horses is the result of in-breeding with consequent physical and mental deterioration.
Yeah.
It was my good fortune that morning to get a good mount of horses.
How many horses did they have in that remuda when they started? Does it say?
I think a dozen.
Oh, they had to have more than that.
Oh, in the whole remuda.
The whole remuda, yeah.
They had about a dozen per man. So
we're looking at about 120 head of horses. Okay.
Yes, yep. It says for the trip, each man was expected to furnish his own gear. Saddles, we had the ordinary Texas make saddle, which would weigh about 30 to 40 pounds, with the latest in the way of trimmings and trappings. Our bridles were in keeping with the saddles. The reins, and now I'm not quite sure why this, but the reins as long as plow lines, while the bit was frequently ornamental and costly. And I'm suspecting the long reins was for hitting cows.
Well,
maybe.
I'm assuming that, and then a lot of times, when you're wearing shafts, rather than take the tail of your rope and just keep beating it on your shafts to keep moving and that type of thing. But, as long as plow reins, I question that.
Yeah. That's what he says. And then he says, of course, the indispensable slicker, which was a great coat of oiled canvas.
And they had to furnish all their own.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And they, of course, the pictures you see there, that slicker's tied to their saddle.
Yeah.
Spurs,
and there's a proper way to put it on, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spurs were a matter of taste.
Yeah.
And now, if a rider carried a quirt, which is a whip, he usually did not have spurs. When he used spurs, they were the large, dull rowels, the big round ones. Those are the ones they liked. Now, as far as leggings or chaps, he says not over half our outfit had any, as a trail herd always kept in the open, and except for night herding, they were too warm in the summer.
Yeah. But, really, whether it's Hollywood or whether it's the charisma of what the cowboy wore, I dare you to find a movie or any kind of photograph that shows cowboys without chaps.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So this is a good time for a break, Zep, if you want.
It is. And I want to say thank you very much to Minnecasia Sales, Zach and the whole crew. They've got all your overhead doors. They've got the interior doors. But I want to really brag on some beautiful luxury vinyl phenomenal planking. Zach talked about this last week. Absolutely phenomenal for you, your home, and the beautification of your home. Stop in and talk to Zach about it today at Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Number to call, 878-2091, and they are proud sponsors of Dr. History every Tuesday, Minnecasia Sales. And now, back to the trail drive.
Back to the herd. Okay, so Andy goes on. He says, one evening, Jim Flood brought word that the herd would camp that night within 15 miles of the river on the Mexican side. And at daybreak, they started to go meet the herd.
You know, let me ask you a quick question. I don't want to take away from the time, but you didn't say that these cattle were purchased from anybody in Mexico, and I'm getting the assumption that maybe we crossed the Brazos and, quite frankly, rustled them and took them back across the border.
Now, it does not say that, Zeb. It really does. It says that they were taken from ranches. Now,
okay.
How they were accumulated, I'm not going to speculate.
I don't think so.
Anyway, Andy says that the cattle were well shed and in good flesh. Our foreman had been careful and had accepted only such as had strength for a long voyage. They were the long-legged, long-horned southern cattle, pale-colored as a rule, possessing the running powers of a deer, and in an ordinary walk could travel with a horse.
Yeah.
So they were tough.
Yeah.
So anyway, he says we made ready to cross the river as soon as they reached the river. Now, they had a horse wrangler by the name of Bill Honeyman, and he knew the horses of each man's mount. In other words, the cowboys. So all we had to do was to sing out our horse, and Billy would have a rope on one, have him at hand before you could unsaddle a tired one.
Really?
So this wrangler, he knew all these horses, and he knew which ones belonged to which cowboy.
Yeah.
And, you know, you have a herd of 120 horses, and you know which one goes to which cowboy. I think that's pretty amazing. But anyway, so on the Mexican side, there was a single string of high brush fence on the lower side of the ford, commencing well out in the water and running back about 200 yards. So if you got that in mind, the picture, it's like a long fence going down into the water.
Right.
And it said, thus giving us a half chute in forcing the cattle to take swimming the water.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Andy says, when the herd was within a mile of the river, Andy and another guy named Fox took off our saddles, boots, and surplus clothing and started to meet it. The water was chilly.
You know, and every time you say water and cattle crossing, I think of that terrible scene in Lonesome Dove with all the cottonmouth snakes.
Oh, yeah.
Remember that?
Well, and quicksand.
Yeah.
Anyway, he says, a swimming horse needs freedom, and we scarcely touched the reins, but with one hand buried in the mane, we guided our horses for the other shore. Now, on reaching the Mexican shore, we dismounted and allowed the horses to roll in the sand, which, you know, you've seen them obviously do that. But it was a March day on the Rio Grande, and it was cold, he says.
Uh-huh.
So he goes on to say, we cut off about 300 head and started for the river. And he says, I took the lead, and the cattle by nature, under pressure of excitement, they will follow a leader. Mm-hmm. It was about noon, and the herd was thirsty, so when we reached the brush chute, all hands started them on a run for the water. Now, when the cattle were once inside this kind of makeshift fence, we went faster and faster. They had 4 Mexican vaqueros riding outside the fence to keep the cattle from turning when they reached the water. Because, you know, if they would have turned when they got the water, they would have lost the herd.
You ever see the word mess in the dictionary?
Yeah, anyway. So Andy says, I struck straight for the American shore. The Mexican vaqueros forced every cow into the river, following and shouting as far as the midstream when they were swimming nicely. And then the vaqueros all turned their horses back to the Mexican side. Now, when the cattle got on the opposite side, our men held the cattle as they came out in order to bait the next bunch. So if the cows on the Mexican side saw the cows on the American side, you know, that would entice them to keep going.
Yep.
Anyway, he says,
they were all paid for.
Here we go. I rested my horse only a few minutes before taking the water again. And that takes a pretty good horse to swim 200 yards. And anyway, he says, I reached the other bank, cut off the second bunch of about 400, and started them across. Anyway, each trip was a repetition of the former, with every cow was over in less than 2 hours.
Wow.
3,100 cows.
That's quite a
2
deal.
hours. Anyway, he says on the last trip, in which there was about 700 head, the horse of one of the Mexican vaqueros took cramps. Which I'm assuming is like colic, right?
Yeah, and probably from the change in the cold air to the wet water and everything else.
It says at about the middle of the river, the horse sank without a moment's warning, just boom down.
Oh, my.
And he says a number of us heard the man's terrified cry only in time to see horse and rider sink.
Oh, my.
Well, every man within reach turned to the rescue, and a moment later the man rose to the surface. He says one of the other vaqueros who towed him back to their own side, strange as it may appear, the horse never came to the surface again, which he says supported the supposition of cramps.
Yeah.
Which, again, I'm thinking colic.
Kind of a colic, yeah.
So, anyway, he says after a change of clothes and rather a late dinner for all hands, there yet remained the counting of the herd. Now, this is kind of interesting how they do
Wait a minute. What about the guy that was swimming almost naked with his horse? I mean, he lost his saddle, his clothes, everything.
You know, he's over the other side shivering.
Uh-huh.
Anyway, so the Mexican corporal and 2 of his men had come over for the purpose of counting the cows.
So they could get paid.
Yes. Leave it alone, Zeb. They were paid for.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so it remained for Jim Flood and the corporal to make the final count between the buyer and the seller.
Yeah.
There were also present what they called a river guard. Now, this was sent out by the United States Custom House as a matter of form in the entry papers, and he insisted on counting. So there were 5 people counting.
What year was this, by the way? I was just curious.
You know,
this back in the 1870s, or was it earlier than that?
I don't see a date right here, but it had to be right back in there.
Okay.
So there were 5 people counting, 2 with Jim Flood, the government guy, and 2 of the Mexican vaqueros. Okay. Now, the only difference in the manner of counting between Jim Flood and the Mexican corporal was that the American used a tally string tied to the pommel of his saddle on which were 10 knots. Keeping count by slipping a knot on each even 100, while the Mexican used 10 small pebbles.
Really?
Shifting a pebble from one hand to the other on hundreds. Well, he says when the count ended, only 2 of the men agreed on numbers, and making the same 3,105, Flood being 1 under and the custom house man 1 over. Now, 3,100 cows, and 4 out of the 5 are within 2 cows.
That's amazing to me.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Anyway,
and they were all paid for.
A supper that night in Brownsville was kind of consummating the deal. Now, the owner is a guy named Lovell, and he says to Jim, he says, "Now, Jim, I can't give you any pointers on handling the herd, but you have until the 10th day of September to reach the Blackfoot Agency. An average of 15 miles a day will put you there on time, so don't hurry. I'll try and see you at Dodge and Ogallala on the way. Now live well, for I like your outfit of men." And then he goes on, he says, "Your credit letter is good anywhere you need supplies. And if you want more horses on the trail, buy them and draft on me through your letter of credit. If any of your men meet with accident or get sick, look out for them, the same as you would for yourself, and I'll honor all bills." And then he goes on, he says, "And don't be stingy over your expense account. For if that herd don't make money, you and I had better quit cows."
I have a question for you, and I'm not trying to be funny and interrupt you, but how did they figure back in those days mileage?
They had an odometer on one horse.
Come on now, your eyes got real wide when I asked.
You know, on the Oregon Trail, they had those wagons had a very rudimentary thing on the wagon wheel that figured out how far the wagon went.
Yeah, but there's even reference to mileage when Lewis and Clark were exploring.
That's true.
So how did they figure it?
I don't know.
Well, you're Dr. History.
I'll check on that.
Okay.
So anyway, it was now late in the day to start the herd, and we wanted to graze them well. So He says, our saddle horses by this time were fairly well broken to camp life. And at every noon and night camp, we strung a rope from the hind wheel of our wagon and another from the end of the wagon tongue back as stakes were driven in the ground, forming kind of a triangular corral. And so in a few minutes, under any conditions, we could construct a temporary corral so they could catch their horses.
I see.
So, and when they got on the trail, the horses were kind of free. They were kind of in a little hurry.
Yeah.
But anyway, during the supper hour, Jim Flood announced the guards for the trip. As the men usually bunked in pairs, the foreman chose them as they slept. Now, the first guard was from 8 to 10:30, second guard from 10:30 to 1, third watch from 1 to 3:30, fourth watch was 3:30 until daybreak. So the only men in the outfit not on duty were the wrangler, Bill Honeyman, and the cook, and, of course, the foreman, Jim Flood.
Yeah.
So Flood, however, he made up by riding almost double as much as anybody. I mean, he was in charge. He was responsible. But he never left the herd until it was bedded down for the night, and we could always hear him quietly arousing the cook at daybreak.
Yeah.
So he always kept a horse on picket for the night and often took the herd as it left the bed ground at dawn. So this guy was a hard-working guy.
Absolutely.
But anyway, a half hour before dark, Flood and all the herdmen turned out to bed down the cattle for our first night. They had been well grazed. There was not a hungry or thirsty animal in the lot. And they all seemed anxious to lay down by circling around slowly and gradually bedding down. But the guards ride in a circle about outside the sleeping cattle.
Yeah.
And they ride in opposite directions.
Yep.
And this made it possible, or made it impossible for any animal to make its escape without being noticed by the riders. And the guards usually sing or whistle continuously so that the sleeping herd knew that a friend and not an enemy is out there.
That depends on how good they could sing.
Or whistle.
Yeah.
Yeah. But a sleeping herd...
In our case, we would have had a stampede every night.
First notes out, we'd have been done. And fired.
Yeah, right.
But, a sleeping herd of cattle make a pretty picture on a clear moonlight night.
There you go.
And I can just picture that.
Yeah.
Sitting on a horse in the moonlight. And
yeah.
I would love it. I would love it. But
oh, man.
The night horses soon learn their duty.
I've only got a minute left.
Okay. Anyway, let's go. There's one little story I want to tell before.
Okay, real quick.
Okay.
All right.
They got to a place. He says, I was at a dance once in Live Oak County, and there was a stuttering fellow there by the name of Lem Todhunter. The girls, it seems, didn't care to dance with him and pretended they couldn't understand him. He had asked every girl at the party and received the same answer from each. They couldn't understand him. Quote, well, go to heck then.
I bet that's what he said.
Can you understand that? He said to the last girl, and her brother threatened to mangle him horribly if he didn't apologize, to which he finally agreed. Well, he went back into the house and he said to the girl, you needn't go to heck. Your brother and I have made other arrangements.
I love it.
Anyway.
I wish we had more time, but I'm out of it.
I got a whole book here. We'll
let's
cover
do that again next week.
We'll cover some more stuff
and all the cattle were paid for.
Exactly.
Dr. History brought to you by Minnecasia Sales, 1321 East Main Street in Burley, right across from the airport. Hello, Zach. Thank you much for sponsoring Dr. History. Also, quickly on Thursdays, I want to remind you that we have two businesses that sponsor our Cassia County School Days segment, and they are Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Avenue, Suite E in Burley. Number to call and find out how they can save you a lot of money on your outpatient surgeries, 677-8888. That number again, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center, serving you. Along with the Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley. Oh my goodness, they got all the spring clothing, and of course they've got all the various games and toys and puzzles and baby furniture. The list goes on and on. All you need to do is stop down, shop local, and save at A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley, along with Ambulatory Surgery Center, bringing you school days in Cassia County. We're going to take a quick break for about 3 minutes and be right back. Don't you go away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
And a big happy Easter to all of you from our friends at the Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. Colonel Dale and the rest of the crew serving you, of course, with precious moments, figurines, all the books, all the special gifts, all the special items, beautiful children's department with greeting cards, arts and supplies. It's all there at the Book Plaza, 222 West 11th Street in Burley. With Colonel Dale, you stop in and happy Easter. Along with the Goodie Shop at 133 West Main Street in Burley. And they can create special Easter baskets for every member of the family. All kinds of goodies, cookies, and all the fruit and the brownies, everything from the Goodie Shop. Call them today at 647-0106, 133 West Main in Burley. And a happy Easter also from Perkins Restaurant, 800 North Overland in Burley. They've got the strawberry pie. Delicious. And don't forget all their great bakery items, along with the fruit and the cream pies and the cookies. And buy 3 muffins and get 3 free. And don't forget Easter dinner at Perkins, 800 North Overland in Burley. All of these businesses wishing you and your family a very happy and blessed happy Easter. Right now, let's go to the phone line, and I'm very blessed to have this gentleman coming back on my program. He's been here a couple of times in the past with the Cornwall Alliance for Stewardship of Creation. I say good morning to the founder and national spokesman, E. Calvin Beisner. Good morning, Mr. Beisner. How are you?
Good morning. How are you? I'm doing fine.
Well, I certainly remember you from the last time I had you on the program. You're an excellent guest. And I want to talk a little bit about energy and this Trump administration, and also how it correlates with what we had for the last 8 years with Obama. Are you optimistic about America and their energy program underneath the Trump people?
Somewhat, yes, I am. I think that the executive order that President Trump issued on American energy independence last week, a week ago today, as a matter of fact, was very well done. I think it gives us good reason to expect that we're going to save the American people hundreds of billions of dollars that would have been really wasted on just purely symbolic efforts under former President Obama, through his Clean Power Plan and other regulations. I said that those efforts would be purely symbolic because even Obama's own EPA, Environmental Protection Agency, acknowledged in the supporting documentation for the Clean Power Plan and the other ones that even if we were to implement them completely, they wouldn't make any measurable difference in global average temperature by the end of this century. And so we would be spending hundreds of billions of dollars trying to reduce temperature, but actually achieving nothing, even according to themselves.
Mr. Beisner, let me ask you this question. I looked with great disdain upon the Obama administration on many subjects, energy being probably the number one. With the reduction of coal and the putting out of work of all the coal families in the coal belt, and then, of course, against anything as far as cheaper prices at the pump to help stimulate other business. Why? Why did we, the American public, let that happen during 8 years of that Obama administration? Are we that lax in standing up and speaking our mind and telling elected leaders they work for us instead of vice versa? Why did we let that happen?
Well, Zeb, I think that's a really, really good question, and it's a very difficult one to answer because what forms public opinion over a long period of time on a major issue is always very complex. There are a lot of different things that do it. But I think one of the most important aspects of that, one of the most important contributors to forming public opinion on this, has been the politicization of science through the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change and the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, which birthed the IPCC, and through the U.S. government as well. This politicization of science resulted in claiming that there was this overwhelming scientific consensus that human emissions of CO2 and other greenhouse gases were causing man-made climate change so dangerous that it justifies spending hundreds of billions, in fact, even trillions of dollars to try to reduce it. In reality, although there is really strong scientific consensus that our emissions of CO2 and other greenhouse gases make the atmosphere somewhat warmer than it otherwise would be, there is no consensus that warming is, on balance, dangerous, let alone catastrophic. And there's no consensus that the warming justifies spending trillions of dollars to reduce it. Those things got mixed up in the message, and unfortunately, the mainstream media and the political elites embraced that, I think for a variety of different incentives or perceived interests. For instance, the quest for greater power, the quest toward global government, and so on.
You know, Mr. Beisner, I've said for a long time that I thought climate change, or initially global warming, was absolute idiocy, because it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that warmer climes, if you will, create healthier atmospheres, create more growing season, create more food for the populace, create better living conditions, rather than returning to an ice age. And I've asked this question of a lot of people. Maybe you can give me the answer. What were the liberal left loons with the Obama administration and the environmentalists? What degree, underline that word degree, what degree of chilliness or coldness were they thinking was acceptable to lower the temperature to?
No, that's another great question, because frankly, nobody knows what is the optimal temperature for the Earth. Is it exactly what it is today? Is it what it was 150 years ago? Is it what it was 1,000 years ago, 2,000? Is it what it will be a century and a half from now? Nobody knows. And nobody can specify why any particular temperature might be the optimal temperature. And so the idea that we're going to say, oh, we need to spend trillions of dollars to try to achieve such and such temperature as the global average surface temperature, which is itself pretty much not measurable and certainly not anything that any particular location experiences on any prolonged period. The idea that we're going to set the optimal temperature and then somehow or other control the world's climate system so as to achieve that is really absurd. It's quite unscientific.
You know, when you look at these people and their movement of saying, well, we've got to have less mankind involved, we've got to stop this, we've got to stop the coal industry, no more fracking, basically go live in a cave and, if allowed, burn some sticks or buffalo dung to keep warm or cook something, a regressive society. And that's what the environmentalists are pushing for, and they did through the Obama administration. Can we overcome that attitude that's also permeated itself into our school systems and our universities? I mean, kids today think that if I start my diesel pickup to run a bunch of horses down to the sale, that I'm a criminal.
Yeah. I believe that we can overcome that kind of thinking, Zed, but it will require a major change, not just in sort of minor surface issues, but in thinking about what's called worldview, the basic paradigm by which we understand the world around us. The environmental movement is characterized primarily by the notion that human beings are polluters and consumers. We're using up the Earth's resources and we're poisoning the planet while we're at it. And because of that, they think that the fewer of us there are and the poorer we are, the less harm we'll do to the Earth. They actually have an equation to try to express this. I equals PAP. I is negative impact on the environment. P is population. A is affluence. And T is technology. So they think that the higher the population and the more their affluence and the higher their technology, the worse will be our impact on the environment. Now, what history tells us is exactly the opposite. As population has grown, and as we have risen out of a subsistence agriculture economy, very low technology and very low income, we've actually seen our environments improve very significantly. We have cleaner water, cleaner air, cleaner soil, more healthful food, better medical care, and so on. So actually, instead of I equals PAT, I being negative, we could say I equals PAT, I meaning improvement, I being positive. But in order to get that notion through to people, we really need to change their basic understanding of what humankind is, from consumer and polluter to a biblical understanding that we are made in God's image to be like God, who is a creator and who loves life and creates life and makes life prolific and wants a great variety of life and loves beauty. And so what our task, as we learn from Genesis chapter 1, is to do is to work together to enhance the fruitfulness, the beauty, and the safety of the earth to the glory of God and the benefit of our neighbors. And as we can communicate that worldview understanding of humanity and our relationship with the rest of the earth, I think we can change this thinking, but it's going to come when people really begin to put God back into their way of understanding. And for that, we need to be communicating the good news that people like you and me, sinners, can be reconciled to the holy God by faith in the saving work of Jesus Christ. So these are the things that the Cornwall Alliance works to get across.
Absolutely.
We support through educational activities, biblical earth stewardship, economic development for the very poor, and the gospel of Christ.
Absolutely. And, with the reduction of man's involvement and the reduction of being able to, with the climate change and the global warming, and they say, well, you can't do this, you can't go there, you can't burn this, you can't have that kind of activity. It absolutely depletes a man-helping-man attitude in our country, and the elitists take over, and for one 7-letter word, this is honestly how I feel, the elitists of any society today want control. Control. It's not about energy saving, it's about control. Would you dispute that?
Yeah, I do think that's a major motivation for a lot of the people on the alarmist side in these many different debates about the environment. The whole notion that the environment is just getting worse and worse and worse over time is historically false. We certainly find that as societies industrialize and become wealthier, they make their environments better, not worse. A clean, healthful, beautiful environment is a costly good, and wealthier people can afford more costly goods than poorer people can. So economic growth, economic development aids the environment. But economic development doesn't happen real well under tight government control. We know that from the history of socialism. Socialist countries never had the rapid economic growth that free market countries have experienced. And so, what happened was that a lot of the people in the socialist movement in the 1970s and 80s recognized that socialism was losing the competition between socialism and capitalism for which economic system would enable people to create the most wealth and get it to the widest variety of people. They were losing that competition. So they stopped making that case for socialism, and instead they began making a case for socialism, a tight government control over people's lives, on the basis that socialism, government control, would result in a better environment. But history has refuted that as well. The worst environmental disasters in the world have occurred in socialist countries and very poor countries, and let's say the very worst in the ones that are both very socialist and very poor. When the Iron Curtain fell, we found vast environmental disasters in Eastern Europe and the Soviet Union, unlike anything that we experienced in the West. So, no, we don't need more control. We need more freedom within the bounds of God's moral law, and that's what we get with a free market system with private property, entrepreneurship, free trade, limited government, and the rule of law. These are lessons that the Cornwall Alliance has been putting across in a large number of articles and papers on our website, cornwallalliance.org. That's cornwallalliance.org. .org.
Let me ask you one final thought here, Kelvin, if I may. But I have felt for quite some time during the campaign last fall, going into the election of Donald Trump, and the conservative values that were at stake in this last election. I am not trying to be a pessimist, but I'm being a realist about this. I think that this may be, in our society, the last hurrah to try to implement and reinstate conservative values and principles that are good for the family, good for agriculture. This may be the last hurrah politically if this administration does not get another 4 years. If the liberals are allowed to take over this country, I honestly question as to whether or not we'll have the value system that we used to have when this nation was an agricultural nation. I don't think it'll ever come back. Am I wrong?
Well, I think it's entirely possible that you're right. As a historian, that's the field of my PhD, though I've done actually far more research on climate change than I ever did in researching for my PhD. But as a historian, I just recognize that, things go up and down an awful lot in history. We get surprised from time to time. And there was a long period during which everybody thought there was no hope that communism would collapse. And finally it did collapse, and not through major war, but just simply through its own inertia. It fell apart on the inside in terms of the Soviet Union. I think it's a very serious problem that we have. We certainly need a restitution of constitutionalism in this country. We need to restore understanding of basic civics among American young people, and in fact all Americans. Surveys show over and over again that many Americans think that the Bill of Rights, if they're not told in advance that it's part of the Constitution, they think that it's a bad thing. They think the First Amendment is dangerous. So we need a restored good civics education in this country. And Zeb, I really believe that in order for that to happen, we have to get our children out of public schools, because I have never figured out how anyone in his right mind could ever think that it made any sense whatsoever to entrust to the government the shaping of the minds of the people by whose consent it's supposed to govern. Government schooling and liberty are ultimately antithetical.
I agree. It is such a pleasure to have you back on my program. E. Kelvin Beisner, Ph.D., founder and national spokesman for the Cornwall Alliance for Stewardship of Creation. God bless you, sir. Please come back in the future. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Zeb, and God bless you.
Thank you very, very much. I enjoy that man because he's straightforward and tells it like it is, and I'm going to have him back in the future, too. From the Cornwall Alliance, Kelvin Beisner. Very, very nice gentleman. We've got to get a weather forecast here. Oh, my goodness. And the weather is brought to you by Scarro's Meats. 331 North Road, Jerome. Here's the number to call, Don Scarrow and the crew, at 324-7657. Or you can go to their website, www.scarrowmeats.com. Oh, the different meats. Oh, the different bacons. Oh, the breakfast sausages and all the brats. Everything is delicious. They are changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Scarro's Meats. Right now, here's Gina with the weather.
Well, it looks like we're going to be in nice with Mother Nature, at least for the next couple of days. But as we get closer to the weekend, a possibility of rain showers does increase. Here is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch. Partly to mostly sunny skies for today. A little bit on the breezy side, definitely not as bad as it was yesterday. High at 52, overnight low of 31. Tomorrow, partly cloudy skies, high of 65 with an overnight low of 41. Looks like we are going to have a storm front trying to roll in on Thursday. More clouds are going to be coming into our area. High of 67 with an overnight low of 45. 90% chance of rain showers on Friday. High of 65, overnight low of 40. And a 40% chance of rain showers on Saturday with a high of 51. That is your weather for Zeb at the Ranch.
I appreciate it, Gina. Thank you. Excellent job. Scarro's Meats bringing you the weather this hour at 331 North Road, Jerome. We're going to try to get Don on the air with us the next couple of days. Don Scarrow, nice guy. And the number 324-7657. Scarro's Meats, changing the way we eat, one delicious bite at a time. Hey, Wheels, are you there?
I am.
Okay, can you get Gina real quick? I haven't had a chance to visit with her quick. Is she across the hall, or is she free?
No, she's across the hall, so give me 1 minute.
Okay, I'll do a commercial quick, and then I want to get her on. Hey, don't forget Lennox and, of course, Ramsey Heating and Electric offering rebates on qualified Lennox home comfort systems. You and your family will enjoy the comfort. Gas furnaces, air conditioners, heat pumps, all of this and more. Save money. Ramsey Heating and Electric and Lennox, 678-0459. Gina, are you there?
She's not.
She's not. I can hear her talking in the other room, so evidently she's all tied up. I was going to have her talk about Gonzaga real quick, and
Gonzaga.
It's Gonzaga.
Gonzaga?
Yes, it's Gonzaga. Yes.
Gonzaga.
Yeah,
okay.
Not Gonzaga.
Okay.
All right, believe me, I made that mistake, and Gina jumped down my throat, and she will do the same to you.
I will, too.
Ah, there she is. Yeah, quickly, I just wanted you to comment. I felt terrible for you. I felt terrible for all the Gonzaga fans last night. It was their own shortcoming. They had that game in the bag if they would have kept on going the way they should.
They kind of fell apart in the last, I'd say, 10 minutes of the game. They kind of fell apart.
Yeah, but they came out of halftime with a slow, sluggish attitude and gave up 7 points in 30 seconds.
They did, and then they just could never recover from that. I mean, It was a good battle up until the half, and they were back and forth. But, for the most part, Gonzaga was leading by 2 points going into the half, and then then they just kind of lost it. But you know what? I just want to say a tip of the hat to Gonzaga, especially since they made it this far. I mean, they did fall short.
You know what?
Kind of heartbreaking, but first time in history for Gonzaga to even make it to the final round.
And less than 7,800 students at that total school. And for them to have the cream of the crop, and I really felt sorry for Karnowski. I've got to take a break here, but I wanted to have you report on this. Karnowski fell apart last night. It was his worst game that he ever played for Gonzaga, and unfortunately it had to happen last night.
Yeah, last night, the worst night of all nights to have a bad night.
Yep.
But, you and I have had our bad days as well, unfortunately.
I don't go by nights. I go by months.
You go by months? Yeah.
Bad months.
But, congratulations. Got to say congratulations to the Tar Heels because, in the end, they were the ones that were able to pull it off and to, make a great game of it. So I honestly enjoyed the game. It was very back and forth. I just stood there and watched the entire game while I was, cooking dinner and things like that. It was a great game.
All right. Well, I felt sorry for you being an alum, and I thought I'd get you on the program. Thank you, Gina.
Oh, you betcha, Zeb.
God bless. Thanks. Hey, great big spring tire sale going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Doing the right thing matters, and you'll do the right thing if you stop in and see them today for the tires you need for your car, your pickup, your SUV, horse trailer, boat trailer, whatever. They've got all your tires, and many of which are on sale. Stop in and check out the Eclipse tire for your car. All-season traction, advanced tread design. It's on sale at all 7 locations. The best in brake service, front end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, and the best in people. They really care. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, Daniel on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland in Burley. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Holy cow, we got to go tomorrow morning. Dave B. goes on the air, RCAF USA Bill Bullard, and then we're going to have Dr. Bob Thiel back again from California. We've got a full plate tomorrow starting at 8:06 Zeb at the Ranch. And remember, the way things were are the way things ought to be. See you tomorrow morning.